Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Pep Talks in the morning. It's Monday, the 11th of May, and it's officially one more week until my birthday. I told you I was going to do a countdown. I spared you doing it daily, so I'm doing it weekly. So one more week until my birthday. Joining me in studio this morning, it's Mr. Anthony Defoe, Deputy Political Leader of the Progressive Empowerment Party. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Felicia. Good morning, Trinidad. Good morning, Peppers. Good morning, Michelle. Wonderful day today. Lots to talk about and really excited to get into it.
Indeed, and good morning, Michelle Davis, our Deputy Party Organizer under the PEP Mobilization Team. Good morning to you.
Good morning, yeah. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Anthony.
It is a happy Monday in the wonderful, royal, imperial, majestic banana republic of Trinidad and Tobago, because guess what? KFC reopens today, and I think as part of the weekend wrap up, for many Trinbagonians, this story probably took front and center. I think if you had to ask the average Trinbagonian to write a summary of that last stay home order press conference that we had, all that resonated, or for many of them, what would have resonated is that restaurants are reopening today. Henceforth, they can get their chicken starting today. And that is one of the stories that we are going to discuss this morning in the weekend wrap up. There were so many things to discuss. I had to bring two people on to discuss it with me. Both Anthony and Michelle have put out some content on the latest press conference issued by the Prime Minister. And we're going to dive head first into that this morning because the leading topic is that phase one of the country reopening has now been officially initiated as of yesterday. And preparations are being made for the further lifting of the stay home order, at least for restaurants. And um, we have our who is it? The hardwares are now open until 4 p.m. They've changed the time. Mind you, they did that about less than 2 weeks ago. They would have changed the time, shortening the length of time they are allowed to operate. It's now back to 4 p.m. Michelle Anthony, what does this mean for you? What does this mean for Trinidad and Tobago? Let's jump right in. Please, before we jump in, take this time to quick share because you don't want anybody missing out on this discussion this morning. Anthony, you go first.
Well, um, I asked the question this weekend, boy, what is the real reason why we still have to have such heavy restrictions across the board in the country at Trinidad and Tobago, knowing and having the present data that we do have? Um, there's still a lot of missing pieces. There's still a lot of people that have not gotten help or minimal help. I was very upset to hear during the conference the Prime Minister talking about him being invited into someone's home, and when he got into their gallery, he saw cases of water there, and it's as if yes, you're talking and saying that be fair and allow other people to get help and all of that. But the point is, I feel as if he deflected his responsibility, his government's responsibility in having the systems properly working for them to have the actual data on the ground in a controlled environment, ensuring every citizen has an opportunity or have a place for some type of relief. Full stop. And even if you were to give someone something this week, how long, depending on the size of the family, would you expect for these supplies to actually last? I mean, this is why the census information and that data is very, very important to the state. That should have been their number one priority since January. And the point, and for them not to have, even to this day, still implemented all arms of the state in order to acquire all the information which is necessary and doing a proper census on the ground, having the indication of who really is in need in every single constituency, whether you are a taxpayer or not. The point is you have a national ID card. It means to say you are a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, and as Commander-in-Chief, as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, you have given a mandate to the population to stay home, do not go to work, close your business, and it is only fair for the state to ensure making such an initiative and motion to the country, having proper protocols and policies in place, having systems in place on the ground, assisting the nation. You can't just leave people to fend for themselves and hope for the best and it's who may want. All you come down the road here, we're giving you a 10-page form to fill out with information that you can't fill half of the time because in the lockdown. Tell me which copy center was open for people to be able to go and get a copy center if their landlord was abroad and they didn't have internet. No internet cafes was open in order for them to get the vital information, in order to fill out the said forms for them to get the relief. The point of the matter is that it was so complicated. They talk about 40,000 citizens apply for the relief forms. Here what is hundreds of thousands more that would like to. But the whole process makes it is so frustrating to the citizen. I mean, we are creating a chaotic environment, and then now you're saying that we have people in government who are leaders that know what it is they're doing. I must feel comfortable about that. Look, I go, Michelle, give me your take on that, big deal, because I want to start so early in the morning.
Anthony, we have you on the show because we like when you start. Michelle, I saw you talking about your popcorn this Saturday, preparing to watch the press conference by the Prime Minister. Give me your thoughts on this.
Yes. Let's be real, people. Let's not call it phase one. Let's call it the 1% phase. Because as the Progressive Empowerment Party states, we are always being governed, past and present, from the 1% perspective. And if citizens did not realize it, they should have realized it this weekend. This is the priority, ensuring that the 1% is set, ensuring they continue to make their millions of billions of dollars off the poor man. The poor man still has to stay home, right? As Anthony indicated, the poor man still cannot get access to the forms. The poor man still struggling to eat, but the 1% had to be guaranteed their share. That was priority. They took a little 2-week, 3-week lockdown, and that was it. And remember, that lockdown, let's remind everybody, that KFC lockdown was by pressure from the Progressive Empowerment Party, from the people, because they still gave them that blight, and they closed the doubles man first. So until the citizens realize that we got a slap in the face this weekend, a true slap in the face, and they showed us, you will continue to sit and suffer while I guarantee the welfare and being of my 1% party and my financiers. I don't know if to be angry. I don't know if to be sad for the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. It is disheartening. It is frustrating that we cannot see as a nation that we are an afterthought to the present government. We are not priority. We are never going to get those grants. As Anthony indicated, there are thousands of people that are not applying. A few people told me, Michelle, it's too much headache. They rather beg, they rather struggle, try to get a hamper. When are we going to wake up as a nation? We have just been slapped in the face, and the 1% will continue to rise in this country.
And I want to add this. Let me just add this. The point of the matter is that you're talking about 40,000 applicants that we know so far, and you only dispense how much? How much people get any of those grants? 2,000 people? 3,000 people? 1,000 people? Right? So what happened to the other 39,000 people when they are supposed to get the grants? They have been without food or with any help for the last 7 weeks, going on 8 weeks. And what? And you are saying now that we're going in phases to open up the country. So you're going to constantly have sectors of the population that is still going to be on lockdown, that is still not going to have any assistance, still not being able to make any money or food. You're able to find millions of dollars to give to religious institutions just so out of the
Right.
blue, right? And that
Yeah.
was after the fact. But when we talk about, oh, you have grants available to the population 8 weeks ago, you still have the larger part of the applicants still not able to access the said grants. You still have people on the ground in communities that still have not been able to get any food hampers or water or even anybody to even look down their direction. What it is we really saying, and then you want to talk about the sycophants jumping out themselves and oh, my prime minister is doing a wonderful job. My government is doing a wonderful job. I had a man just yesterday on one of my threads come telling me, oh, the government has done a wonderful initiation and rollout and giving proper information. And I say, but brother, what bubble it is you really living in? Because when you sit down and look, the point of the matter is that they are actually following step by step what is happening on the outside. I, Anthony
Exactly.
Defoe, is asking, do we actually have real leaders in Trinidad and Tobago that can assess and accumulate information and dispense a proper plan moving Trinidad and Tobago over and forward in this actual environment without having to not premeditate but follow what other people, whether it be America and whether it be England and whether it be where, we can think for ourselves. We have the critical information on how this virus works. We have all the data that is coming out from the international space, as in whether it be cures, whether it be other new protocols being put in place or new findings. The point is, with the present information, this allows us to create a proper environment for our citizenry to be able to operate under, whether it be the regular man in the home, whether it be the businessman in the corporate sector, in the construction sector, what have you. That is what the bloody think tank is supposed to be there for since January 1st, after knowing the importance and the critical position that Trinidad and Tobago could have been in, being involved in this global pandemic of COVID-19. But no, we still had to insist. The only island in the entire blasted Caribbean that had carnival, realize, because every other island in the entire Caribbean has canceled their carnival. Them are mad, them are crazy, but we was insane having to have that discussion. And the Progressive Empowerment Party was the premier entity on the ground, brokering and requesting for government to cancel carnival. It was the Progressive Empowerment Party that was doing that in that period. And they want to talk to us and say that we is a bunch of mad people. We looking at things in pie in the sky. It's not a matter of pie in the sky, Trinidad and Tobago. It's a matter of being proactive, acquiring vital information, and making a plan that can assist and address head on the issues that we are dealing with. And that is as simple as it is. We can have a country that works. We can have 10 times more than what we presently have, and we can be proud to call ourselves Trinidad and Tobagonians. Once we can do it right, it is ours and it's within our grasp. It is you, Trinidad and Tobago, that have to make the decision of change, of wanting better for yourself, not to run down, oh, if somebody had the same hair or they had the same skill color or looking like me, oh, that is my party. No, look at individuals who are able to actually do for you and your family, and you can see it. Know for fact that you have a time frame to hold that person to task being in that office in order to bring the level of betterment that you are looking for. And that is the bottom
But
line that
Anthony,
you
you're
have to look at
forgetting.
Trinidad and Tobago. We
Anthony,
can't
you're
do the same
forgetting
thing over and over and expect a different result. We
exactly.
cannot.
You're forgetting the 1% COVID-19 22 team. COVID 22, the team that was assigned to handle this COVID crisis. That's the other 1% team, because they're clearly managing from their perspective. So not only do we have persons that are elected to office, they can't take us forward. We had to assign a COVID special team, which we already know because the slap in the face came this weekend. Their priorities came first.
The
Indeed, and
businessman
I
is the
want to
one to
raise that.
suffer.
I raised that
They
as
are the
the
ones to
that
crash.
that is going to be the next discussion under this topic because Michelle, they're saying I was reading the article that you sent from the Guardian that outlines all of the aspects of phase one and how it's going to be rolled out specifically for the restaurants and takeout industries because I wanted to see what was going to be done differently now that could not have been done 3 weeks ago. Around 3 weeks ago, we were around the same number of people in terms of infections. We had started to slow down, and that was around the time that the Prime Minister dropped the axe on the all restaurants when we raised the issue of why can't doubles operate in the same kind of environment and space. And I was reading in an article this morning that doubles vendors are saying that they are going to change their way of operations to even further accommodate the social distancing restrictions, such as call ahead before you place your order for doubles, similar to what you can do with any of the fast food 1% restaurants. So I'm asking the question, my concern, not concern, but my question is what is going to be done differently now that could not have been done 3 weeks ago? And for everybody who's clapping and applauding and saying, you see, and then great is the, for everybody who's saying that nothing is different now that could not have been implemented 3 weeks ago. And when you look at it, who are the people who actually suffered because of his very rash and tantrum throwing ordeal that he did when we raised the issue of doubles vendors being able to operate in an equal space as the more prominent business restaurants? The prominent ones probably went and spent their time down the islands. I see that their own the employees are getting hampers now. It's very ironic that they're getting hampers one day before they return to work. My question is, in this 3 weeks, in the months that they were home, how come they didn't get hampers then? It's very convenient that they're getting the hampers now. But for the owners of these 1% businesses who pockets are fat money in the bank, they're sitting on the the road to recovery team, so they have the heads up. Were they really suffering, or was it the small man, the doubles vendors, who are now talking about having to increase their prices, which I think Trinbagonian should have no problem with, seeing as you were willing to pay $7.50 for the doubles from the prepackaged doubles, but they were the ones who were impacted the most. And now that they are preparing to open, they still face challenges such as some of their vehicles are down. There's no car repair or car parts place that is open right now. Michelle, you're experiencing this firsthand. I experienced this firsthand. I sent my car to wash this weekend, and the guy ended up hitting the mirror. I got a replacement mirror that he found from the bamboo. It wasn't the original. So one side of my glass is looking normal, the other side is magnifying way past the scale. This is what we're experiencing right now. If you're a small business owner, of course, it's going to be even worse. So whereas we have KFC who was clearly prepared, and I want to move into that topic now, but we have KFC who was clearly prepared. We still have the small vendors because today is not just like you wake up and business as usual. There are things that go into making a small business work. I have a small business and I experienced firsthand just how tough it is to navigate these new norms as a small business. You don't have the advantage of a 1% or large retail outlet that have links through the system, that have links in government, that have links to know when to reopen and when not to reopen. And the question about the KFC getting heads up is my next topic of discussion because we're seeing that. Yes, do you want to say something?
Before you move on there, just want to touch on what you had mentioned just now, pertaining towards the doubles vendors taking initiative in addressing the COVID-19 environment that we're in and putting certain things in place. And I applaud them for making such an initiative, and I would hope that every business in Trinidad and Tobago takes such a step. Um, why, again, I would say it's a prime example to show that the state simply is failing us every step of the way. In my mind, I think that that was a job for the Ministry of Health to initiate, scrutinize every business model that there is in Trinidad and Tobago, whether it be one that's outdoors, whether it's one in a confined environment, whether it's one that is, however, maybe home delivery. The point is to create a actual protocol on paper with the different models assessed and having a protocol directly associated to that. So, for example, for outdoor use, there might be some more relaxed restrictions pertaining towards that versus one that is in a confined environment. The point is that it should be something that is initiated through the state and dispensed down again for the population to be able to operate under. You're going to have people doing things one way and other ones doing things another way, and yes, one might work and the other may not. The point is a matter of the population having proper information and protocols, systems that work, that is there to safeguard the citizenry. And again, that's the job of the government, to be able to have systems in place to ensure the safeguard of the citizenry. And in my mind, I again, hats off to all business people, because I myself have taken such initiatives where my own business models are concerned in how my employees operate under these conditions. But again, I just feel as if it should have been something of a conference, something that was nationally read as a press release of sorts, something maybe mailed out into the mail or to each business in itself once, because in the Ministry of Legal Affairs, when you're registering your business, you have to have a description of your business. You can have the categories of the different business models and dispense the information accordingly. Again, doing the job, doing the bloody job. Everyone is sitting in their office and cock up, and they can take the photo shoots and they can kiss the baby on the forehead, and yes, woo, everything is great and wonderful. But the point is that it's about getting the bloody job done. And there's a large part of the job that is not being done. And I still can't understand how people could still have the audacity to come into the public and say, great is the PNM or my government doing such a wonderful job. Because in reality, they are not. They can be doing it 10 times better, and we can be in 10 times of a better position as a citizenry in Trinidad and Tobago in this environment if the bloody government can do their job.
But Anthony, you're talking about citizens that would be accustomed to first world standards and first world governance, which we are not. Let's be real. We are so subpar in what we accept as governance. We are just so complacent as to with regards to governance. The Prime Minister makes a speech and we're all over it. But let's be real, we're not accustomed to good governance. We don't even know that as citizens. So when we get the little crumbs, as I call it, it's kudos to the government and kudos to that little hamper that you got that probably will last you the half of the week. You know, that kudos to that. When in reality, we are failing so miserably from the average citizen standpoint. But let's talk about the KFC having the heads up, okay? Anyone, and I'm going to say it, anyone who took that bait probably thinks I'm blonde hair and blue eyes. Anyone who took that bait that said KFC did not know that they were opening Monday when they were caught live on Facebook. They were caught live delivering chicken to their outlets, not to a distribution center for their hampers. Anyone who took that bait, you are the problem. We are the problem as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. If you took, it was live, it was streamed to you live as they were delivering. And the person streaming it was overzealous. Open back my country, open back my country, bring the 12 herbs and spices. If you saw that with your eyes and you believed that KFC did not have the heads up, well, you are the problem. And we have to wake up that we deserve better citizens. We have to take this upon ourselves and realize the evidence is in front of us. It's not hidden, it's blatantly in front of us. And we still continue to take the bait. We still continue to grab the crumbs. You know, we saw a video, someone got a little hamper of vegetables and she sang in glorious momentum, great is thee. And I think all of us are astonished at her loyalty to a basket that
You're
will
talking
last
about that
you.
video?
Listen.
Loyalty
You disturbed my
Express.
morning when you made me watch that video. I have to say, you disturbed my whole morning. I saw that. I kept seeing it circulating on my feed, and I absolutely refused to watch it because the hashtag was greatest D. And I said, no, I'm not watching this. And you sent it in a chat with us, and I said, let me check this out. And I watched that, and I was so incredulous. I mean, other than the fact that she clearly knew what her vegetables were. I was in absolute astonishment as to, as to what I was really looking at. And my question was, I hope, I hope the other residents got this, and I hope because I mean, I looked around my community and I didn't see anybody get dashed. I didn't see anybody else get dashing. So where and what constituency did she reside in? Because I want to tell the people in my constituency who reaching out to me where they can go because clearly we in the wrong place. That lady she needed
Yeah.
to tag who was her MP and she needed to tag where she got that hamper from because I mean I could do with a hamper like that if it does really exist.
It was
That
disturbing.
was
It
a
was like watching
propaganda
a
tool.
nightmare.
It was a propaganda tool. That's what it was.
It was. It
That's what it
was.
was.
But back on when we were discussing with the KFC getting the heads up, for anybody who might be questioning why we raising this as an issue, for two reasons. One, Christian Mute, who is the chairman of Prestige Holdings, which is the owner of KFC and Pizza Hut and TGI Fridays franchise, had they gotten the heads up because he sits on the board of the COVID recovery team, Road for Recovery team, that is giving that business and a 1% business to boot. And let's take out the 1%. You're giving a major franchise owner an advantage that the small vendor cannot access. When you look at that Road to Recovery team, who is sitting on that committee that represents the interests of the small man? Who's sitting on that team that is representing the interests of the small business owner, the entrepreneur, the person who just got their feet wet before this COVID-19 hit? Why is it that they are allowed to have such an advantage? And don't tell me that I'm seeing a KFC truck delivering chicken at 2:10 p.m. and the Prime Minister has
Mhm.
not yet announced that the phase one is going to allow the reopening of restaurants and try to fool me and tell me that that had nothing to do with the reopening of restaurants. Obviously, you got the heads up. Obviously, you got the advantage. And that is what we are pointing out. It is the same kind of disadvantage that we put the doubles vendors at a month, 3 weeks ago. It's the same kind of thing because we're now telling them you have to fight up and now look to find materials. Whereas KFC and Prestige Holdings would have gotten the nod from early on. They probably were the ones who suggested and gave the recommendation of when we should reopen. I wouldn't doubt that the lines are going to be long today because Shanice tends to get very easily distracted because that raises my second concern with them getting a heads up. Well, not them getting a heads up, but with them reopening and Christian Mute being a part of that committee, we right now have distracted, or I would say the government and that Road to Recovery team has right now effectively, I don't want to say effectively because I'm hoping that there are more people who can take sense from nonsense, distracted the population as to what is really taking place with the COVID relief grants. We were discussing right before we came on air about what 1,000 people have received their grants thus far. 1,000
Yes.
people. What did the Prime Minister mention in that press conference in terms of the further grants being rolled out? We are now in phase one of recovery, yet some people have not even gotten the grant to help them through the period that was supposed to keep them while we were waiting for phase one to be kicked off. And I'm raising this because it cannot be so easy to distract us as shouldn't be doing it. It can't be easy to say, here, hold a box of chicken, but forget the grant that you applied for 7 weeks ago. It can't. It can't. It absolutely cannot be. And you know what? If you forgot, we will remind you because you can't KFC all the days of your life. And at some point, you're going to realize that, yes, you have a box of chicken, but you still have to pay rent. You still have to buy groceries because, like I say, pride KFC every single day. You still have children who are working from home who cannot access supplies because all of our supply shops in terms of stationery, etc., most of them are still closed. These are the realities that we here on this panel will continue to remind you of because it absolutely cannot be so easy to distract you from what is really taking place. And the fact that there was no mention about the grants and when the second phase is going to roll out and who's going to get what, the fact that there was no mention of that means that this was the perfect distraction. But you guys shouldn't be going and do not allow yourself to fall bait so easily. Do not allow yourself to take the bait of this distraction because KFC is nice, but I heard that the chicken and mashed potatoes is just as good. So Sati should be hearing that because he's advocating for us to buy this chicken. If you're hearing that,
Felicia,
again, just please
what, Felicia, what he did mention was he said the Minister of Finance would give an update this week. So this week. So basically, I'm sure they're going to throw out some good figures for us. But again, as with the elusive grant, we pretty much all over Facebook, people were asking who has received a grant. And you could literally count the number of responses you saw on your two hands, literally. It wasn't in the thousands. People are still have not even received an acknowledgement of the application. We've seen that many people have attested to that. They have not heard anything. Then they went on this weekend to put it out in the public that the landlords and the owners are basically being extremely fraudulent in their activity, and the citizens are being fraudulent. So that takes away from that elusive $2,500 rental grant, which we have not even touched the base. We have not heard of one disbursement of the rental grant. We've been focusing on that $1,500 grant, but keep in mind, part of the entire package was that rental agreement, that rental package, which no one ever, for the past 2 weeks, we have been hearing it is being plagued by supposedly fraudulent activity by the citizens and by the landlords. So now landlords have now commenced evicting the citizens, the average poor man on the street because their rent is not being paid.
And I want to touch on that because I cannot believe that it took us getting to this place. I will never forget at um, the initial press conference that announced that Trinidad and Tobago was going to enter into a whole stay home, a period of staying home. I'll never forget when the Prime Minister asked, and he very emphatically said, landlords, I plead with you to please be lenient at this time. And I'm not sure if when your landlord was literally taking your things and throwing them out of the door, if you were supposed to at that point say, but didn't you remember the Prime Minister asked you to be lenient? Was it that you were supposed to replay this press conference to him and he was supposed to get a change of mind and get a heart? I do not understand how how do we go about operating in such a way? Anthony, jump in.
Failure, failure. You can't have the Prime Minister having such a vague initiation telling landlords to be lenient. That is madness. You just tell the whole population to go home. You can't work, you can't open your business. What is you talking about telling landlord to be lenient and have nothing set in stone for them to be able to operate under, for them to be able to conduct themselves within the real estate environment if you have tenants? Again, the state does not know what the hell it is they're doing. And if they do know what they're doing, they're systematically doing it in such a way that they create a level of chaos on the ground in Trinidad for some type of agenda or reason. That's the only reason I could see they taking the steps that they have taken, because again, we have said it time and time again. If you have just shut the country down, basically, everybody have to stay home and quarantine themselves. You are supposed to have, as a state, as the government of the day, that is there to see the interests of the people, having systems in place to pacify the environment that they now have to be in, which the most critical part of it is food. Food. So the number one priority for government keeping the whole country home was to ensure that every home, whether you have big house, big car, small car, once you are a Trinidad and Tobago national citizen born on the ground, you were supposed to be entitled for a relief, no matter what the relief might be, whether it comes in the form of food, whether it comes in the form of cash. But the point of the matter is you were supposed to collect and be entitled to any type of relief, no matter what your bank account says in it. And that's the bottom line. That's my personal belief. Because again, you cannot tell a nation to stay home and you do not have systems in place in order to pacify their needs directly, and then now want to put the blame back onto the citizens about who want to come and get 2 and 3 hamper and who illiterate and can't fill out form, and there's only excuses upon excuses upon excuses, and no one is coming up with real solutions as in dealing with this situation head on, where the citizenry is actually taken care of. And that and without question is what we're talking about. That's
chaos leads to distraction, Anthony. Chaos leads to distraction, and Trinidad is in a permanent state of distraction. A young man once told me, he said, Michelle, when you're belly hungry, you don't have time to think. You're just thinking hunger, right?
That's right.
Keep them hungry, and therefore we can distract them. We are in a constant state of chaos in Trinidad because we remain in a distractive state. The citizens don't have to think what's going on because they're suffering. They're suffering. They're not the average person we saw when we did this show, when this first began. In 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, people were saying they were hungry. In 2 weeks, people didn't have enough food in their households to last them 2 weeks. Now, how many weeks later? 6, 7 weeks later? Do you think the average citizen studying policy, governance, what we deserve, what we don't? Right now, it's pure survival. Our citizens are under right now. Where is my next meal coming from? They don't have time to think. They don't have time to think.
And I would say this. I would say this again. Even the same restrictions being placed on or should I say, look, landlords looking for the rent. The point of the matter is, if landlords have mortgages on the homes that they are renting out, or what the case might be, they themselves are to be exempt. The point is that no one is supposed to be paying any type of rent, mortgage, car payment, phone bill, light bill, water bill. Nobody is supposed to be paying any of this. If you talk about the whole economy has just frozen and you have to now quarantine the entire population of 1.4 million people due to something that you did not ask for, but as a leader, you have to seek the interests of your people. And yes, you ensure that they are quarantined home and safe with their families, not being affected and transmitting this disease further in the country. But in the same breath, you must have the systems where number one priority is to ensure every home is able to feed itself. Plain and simple. Second priority is to ensure that the said home has a power supply, a water supply, information transfer, whether it be internet or what have you. Again, and all bills must be frozen. So you are still, that's where the state was supposed to take the hit, you know. Where the utilities are concerned, the banking sector also was supposed to take a hit because they're the ones boasting how much billions and millions every quarter of the year that goes by for how many consecutive years, for the last how much decades. The point of the matter is that the banking sector also was supposed to take a hit for the people, for the country in itself, because they played such an integral part within the society. I mean, that's where we bank our money. That's where money passes through the system. They are a key part of that said system. So it's our leader, as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, was supposed to sit down with the Banking Association and let them know, freeze every single thing. We are taking a hit as a country. It is something that is to safeguard the economy, number one. the citizenry. Number two, because at the end of the day, you don't want to put people into a hole that they cannot get out, because we were already before COVID-19 already in a deficient situation, already had no spending power as a nation and as citizens on the ground at Trinidad and Tobago. We weren't in a good place before all of this has happened, and now having to put all of this extra strain onto the system, extra strain onto the citizen, and acting as if, you know, everybody taken care of, but everybody's suffering on the ground, and it's like nobody really care. What is the end result do you really expect us to really deal with in the very near future? What? Because right now you have companies closing its doors and firing its employees. We're talking about redevelopment of the country. Don't you think if you are redeveloping a country, you should put a freeze on everybody who is supposed to get fired, and every company that is supposed to close down? Do a proper assessment to see if these entities are possibly able to contribute and possibly be a tool for our redevelopment here in Trinidad and Tobago, before having to send the whole damn population home and the whole damn place going in chaos. I simply, hey, boy, ole help me, eh? Tell me,
Anthony,
ole help me.
you said something earlier that I want to touch on a little bit. When you spoke about the landlords, etc., a lot of people looking at it from the perspective of landlords evicting tenants, and I mean that is completely understandable. If you no longer
They
have a
are.
roof over your head, exactly. If you no longer have a roof over your head, you are in effect vulnerable. You probably temporarily or permanently homeless. Of course, it's going to impact you. But another angle that a lot of people are neglecting, particularly with the landlords who maybe this was their sole form of income, is the landlords themselves. They too have bills,
Right.
they too have families to feed, they
Correct.
too are being impacted by the stay home order. And the fact that the government has not been able to sort out this rental relief grant, I if it's one thing I agreed with is the fact that the landlord should be the ones applying for it. It shouldn't be the tenants applying for the money to then go and hand to the landlord. If the landlord is a legitimate you're a legitimate business, not business owner, you're a legitimate what do you call that person who rents homes?
Real,
You're the tenant.
yeah.
Anyway,
Like,
yeah, you're legitimately doing this, and you this was your sole form of income. I totally agree that you should be the one applying for the grant, but then from what you are hearing, what we are seeing right now in terms of people who are actually accessing this, there's nobody really who has accessed this grant. And if the people who have, clearly they're not speaking out, because I have heard of nobody. I have not heard the
No.
government mention anything apart from the 1,000 people who got the salary relief grant. But this is different. This is renters grant. This is the grant to assist people who have been or should have been receiving rent in this period of stay home, and people were not able to work and pay rent. And as a landlord, I can understand that people may look at you as harsh because you want to evict a tenant. But during a time like this, what about their families? How are they supposed to survive? What is being put in place for them? It can't be that hard to assist people. It can't be that hard to help people stay afloat. Like Anthony said earlier, we're throwing on money for all kinds of different things. Somebody raised the issue of the churches. I have no problem with the churches getting money to distribute to the congregation and the community. You know, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. It's not that I have an issue with that happening. Anthony's wagging his finger. No, it's not that I have a problem with that happening. I have a problem with the how is it going to be accounted for. I have a problem with us just handing money to churches and saying, here, take this money and buy this. I don't understand why we did not give them the relief items to distribute. And I also have a problem with us finding money for every freaking thing right now, but to actually give it to the citizens who are suffering and need it the most. Us pretending that great is the and these are the food hampers and all of this, and not and getting caught up in the propaganda and not focusing on the people who are actually calling out and are actually in need, not the people who the prime minister is trying to paint in a bad light by saying they're lining up 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I know I'm personally not going to leave my house to go and line up in 10 different lines, to spend 2 hours in one line just to get one bag of groceries. I'm not personally going to do that. So I am going to assume that the majority of people that we see lining up are people who are in actual dire need for it. And to paint them as anything otherwise than that is disingenuous. And it is unfair as a prime minister to downplay the critical needs of the people, the suffering of the people during this time.
Exactly, Felicia. But what is important to note with the rental, the several cases that I saw in terms of eviction, I had mentioned that a few weeks ago when we first started discussing this, that the middle class is suffering as well as the lower class. And again, that is why we should have come up with the strategy of how US and how Canada did it, where they dispersed to everyone regardless of monetary, because in some way the middleman is the business owner, is the landlord, and they are suffering as well. But of the cases, what is very important to note of the eviction cases that I read, those persons were already behind in their rent. So as Anthony indicated, we were already in a hole as a nation prior to COVID-19. And if the three of us could sit here and strategically come up with the knowledge to understand how the system works and say that it should have been given to the landlords to apply rather than the actual renter, it would have been so much easier, because the paperwork that is required by these renters is majority of it is coming from the landlords. So why did we do it in that reverse way? Why did we say to the renter, go get the the deed to the property? But again, we talk about it at the Progressive Empowerment Party. It is a state of chaos. It is a state of deliberate incompetence to keep the citizens spinning all the time. So they have no time to think what is really going on. And until we realize that, there's no one that is, I'm not going to give, if I'm renting, I'm not going to give my renter the deed to my property. I'm not going to sign papers where I don't know where the papers are going. It should have been a reverse. But again, you don't think those in governance know that? They know that. That is a deliberate way to delay the money being dispersed. And again, we have no accountability of almost $15 billion that has been taken in loans, that has been taken. I saw another figure that I didn't even realize that there's some figures from the World Bank. And then there's some figures from it said other agencies, which they did not name. But the total is almost equivalent to almost $20 billion we have access to. And we're still talking about 1,000 grants being issued.
Well said.
Exactly. And something else I wanted to raise, somebody on the live asked the question, I wonder if Faris collected rent for the past 2 months for 1 and 3 Alexandra Place. And that's a real good question, And you know what, Faris, rent, I really hope that you donated it. And I'm being real sarcastic here because we all know that did not happen.
Exactly.
Also, something else I wanted to raise on this issue of us not dealing with the average citizen is that the average citizen right now, particularly if you are not one of the people who is returning to work today, the average citizen right now, I have to believe, is under a tremendous amount of stress with everything that is happening right now. You're studying. Do you have a job when you return? Some people would have been silently retrenched during this time. Michelle, you just asked the question of how is this money being spent? And to me, those people right now are clearly the ones who deserve it the most. When I heard that we're still renting that Brooklyn facility at over $100,000 a month, I have no faith that the money is being spent to deal with these people who are actually in dire need. We're talking money that clearly doesn't seem to be going into the hands of the people who need it the most. That facility, when I looked at it, I could not believe we were spending over $100,000 a month on that. And to the person who's collecting the rent on that, you have to be a real wicked person, not just somebody who oblivious as to what is happening around you, because I compare the people or the owners of that property collecting that rent right now to the man who have to go and line up 2 and 3 times that the prime minister wanted to shame and embarrass for doing that. You should have friends away, friends who have what you would consider good or very stable jobs, who have applied and received grants here in Trinidad and Tobago. I did not even bother to do it. As much as my business was impacted, I didn't even bother to do it, because applying for a grant here versus applying for a grant in Canada, over there they make you feel that as a citizen you are entitled to this. Here they make you feel like you have to beg and like you have to pull hairs just to get what, as a tax paying citizen, you should have ideally think was owed to you. And when I say owed to you, we are all going through this hard time. Globally, we're going through this hard time. It is only here in Trinidad and Tobago, I feel like they make you feel like you have to beg for it. And for the people who were willing to brave the whole filling out of forms and finding your own employee, it has to be testament to you being in an absolute dire straits to have to go through that. But I know, like Anthony pointed out, people who would have applied had they made this simpler, had they made it more accessible to the people who really need it. And the reality is, a great percentage of the population right now, whether you were very well employed, whether you had a lot of money before this or not, a great majority of the citizens are in need, and they should have been entitled to the grants that we were receiving, or that we were supposed to be receiving as citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Anthony, you wanted to say something?
What I was just wanted to add was, even without having to go down the road of actually creating grants to dispense to landlords or even to the citizens, again, if you froze the economy and allowed the banks to actually take the hit, it's not much of a hit that the banks are going to really get, because it's not as if they're not going to get the allotted amount of time that they had to not collect payments for. They could have shifted that payment period to the end of the loan term or the mortgage term for the citizen. The point is that across the board, no one was supposed to be paying any rent, any mortgage, any car payments, any utilities, period, across the board. If you are freezing the economy and no one is able to go out and work and make money, the point is that's where the country was supposed to take the hit. Right there, that's where the government was supposed to take the hit. There was no reason to look to pull out billions of dollars out of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund or take a loan from anybody to try to assist or to pacify anything pertaining towards this COVID-19. It simply was to look at what we had as our own assets nationally as a country and have the talks which was necessary with the actual players involved and create a proper protocol and program in order to dispense to the population and safeguarding them. It's that simple. You can't have people being evicted out of their homes because landlords are in pressure, having to pay mortgages to banks and all of that. You must come to the population with a clear plan and protocol in which they operate under in this COVID-19 environment. That's just where it was supposed to be, and it's not. Because again, like Michelle said, you have families being evicted out of their homes right now, and the Prime Minister saying for landlords to have what was his term? What did he say? To have leniency or something like that.
Right.
Have a heart.
Have a heart. That is madness. That is madness. There's no protocol in that, Mr. Prime Minister. There's no mandate in that, Mr. Prime Minister, to have a heart. There's nothing clear that indicates to a landlord how they were supposed to operate under this condition. And if you are not allowing the landlord said tenants to go out to work and make money, how do you expect them to pay the rent? And if the landlord, in turn, with that ripple effect, is not collecting a rent, how do you expect the landlord now to pay his mortgage or car payments? The point is that the entire situation created a ripple effect that everyone was affected. So why wasn't there proper protocols in place, which we still can now develop up until this day, presently? If we use our heads and actually use that think tank for the so-called redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago they're talking about, let's start there. Let's create policies and programs right there to safeguard the people and put them under no more stress than what they've already been under. Take the hit there. Have the
Anthony,
discussion there.
I have a question. We copied everything from the US and Canada in terms of how we are handling this situation. Why, I asked the citizens and I asked this panel, why didn't we copy the way money was distributed? We copied everything else, but why didn't we copy
Wait,
that one factor of money distribute? Because we play with monopoly money here, right? Our money is great on paper. We have talked about it. We are perfect on paper as a country. We look like we know what we are doing. But why was that one element of everything we copied? We didn't copy the money part because we are corrupted to the
Exactly.
core in this country. We are corrupted to the core, past and present. And our citizens have come to accept corruption as though it is part of the daily climate of Trinidad. We joke about corruption. Who stole more? Who stole less? People, come on. You are the ones suffering, not the ones sitting in office, not the ones with the big franchises. We are the ones, the average person is suffering. So ask yourself, of all the things they copied, they should have copied that distribution of money.
Exactly.
well
And
said.
we were so quick to boast that we were number two in terms of our preparedness to reopen. We were quick to boast that we got accolades from the UK from and somewhere else that we were doing so well in terms of our COVID-19 response. And I kept saying, this is all on paper. This is all on paper. This is all on paper. If you look at the actual implementation, it's easy to say things, I mean, we know it for a
Yes.
fact. Governments go, they have manifestos, they have Vision 2020s, Vision 2030s, they're going to bring this, they're going to do that, we're going to create 50,000 jobs. We have experienced as a country how easy it is to say things, how easy it is to tell people what you can get, how easy it is to make promises. What we fail to follow up on is the actual implementation of these things. And if, like I told people from the start, the government can come out and say all these nice things and talk about grants from now until next year. They can come out and talk about who is going to get salary relief, who's going to get renters relief. But until it is actually implemented, all of this is talk. It sounds nice, all pretty words. A man come whispering a lot of nothing, sweet nothings in your ear,
Nothing.
and then when you get married, it's the actual opposite. You're not going to remember the sweet nothings he whispered. You're going to remember. You're going to focus on the actuality of the situation. You're going to focus on what you actually get. We are still living in a period of loving all the promises and ignoring the fact that these promises have never materialized. PNM, just saying. We are approaching the break right now. It is you like how I slipped that one in. We're
Yes,
approaching the
yes.
break right now, and we still have so much to discuss. But when we come back, we are reopening the lines for the public to call in and talk because we've been talking a lot about these citizens. They are still these small business owners who are being greatly impacted by this. And I mean, we have, thank God, the doubles vendors, etc. The street vendors are being allowed to reopen. But many small business vendors, they too are facing eviction. They too are facing the stress of having to pay rent, even though their business is not in operation. They're still paying utilities for buildings that they are no longer using. We heard of the bar owner who paid her rent for March, could not afford April, and had to be evicted. And this is after paying $20,000 in rent for March. And it's a reality facing many Trinbagonians right now. The American Chamber of AmCham, sorry, they brought up the issue. Doma as well brought up the issue for a lot of small businesses in downtown Port of Spain. And we are going to touch on that a little bit, as well as open up the lines to hear how is COVID-19 impacting you, the stay-home order, how is that impacting you as citizens, as well as our small business owners? Call in and give us your take on what is taking place. We'll be back after this very short break.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber, and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms, and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
We are back, and before we jump into taking, is Anthony now a black screen? Yes, he is. At least it is on my end. Before we jump into taking calls and continuing this discussion, I do want to wish, because we have a birthday club that we do on the Pep Talks in the morning. So I do want to wish Adisa Kamuzu happy birthday, as well as Gary Felix. I could have sworn we celebrated Gary's birthday on Saturday. Maybe it was a premature celebration, or maybe he just had a birthday that is running for the entire weekend. But happy birthday to you, Gary Felix. Gary's from our PEP Canada team, as well as Alison Burton, who is from PEP NYC. Happy birthday for you all, to you all. You're Taurus peoples. That means you're very, very nice, sweet, caring, and altruistic people. I hope you have a wonderful day today. Go out and get yourself a piece of chicken or something in celebration. I'm being silly here. Anthony, welcome back. So we were going to open the discussion again on the small business owners, as well as open up the lines for you to call in and talk your talk. Also, let us know how has the stay home order impacted you? How has it impacted your business? For the rest of the week, I'm also inviting people who may have been who may have had their businesses impacted by COVID-19 to call in and actually be a guest on our show. We here are willing to promote your business, particularly if you are willing to, or you have been able to take your business online. Anthony, this goes for you as well. Michelle, I know you do your tutoring on the side. This is open for PEP members as well as supporters, as well as anybody who would like to get that push on the morning show. We want to do our part in helping these small businesses survive during this time. We may not have the power of office, but we have the power of social media, and we would use it to your best advantage. Anyway, while we wait for some calls this morning, and I was reading Michelle and Anthony that the AmCham and Doma are asking the government to do more for private businesses when they got the news of the stay-home order still being in effect for businesses outside of restaurants, etc. They were greatly concerned, and I understand completely. I heard about the tenants in Trinity Mall, some of them speaking about not being able to pay their rent and facing eviction. This is a very hard and trying time for many small business owners. And they're calling on the Prime Minister to listen to their concerns, because like I mentioned earlier, I don't know of anybody on that Road to Recovery team that is representing the interests of the average small business owner, a part of this country, a part of the informal sector, for those who belong to the informal sector, who do not have, the support, I guess, from the government to stay afloat during this time, and who are worried that post COVID-19 they may not have a business to return to. Michelle.
I mean, it is concerning because in the rollout plan, I think as we were talking previous to the show, the small business owner is not. It's not even. It says malls. It doesn't even say small business owner. So phase 4 of the rollout, the phase rolled out plan addresses the mall. So I'm assuming small businesses are included. So you're talking another several weeks down the road for what are these small business owners going to do? And small business owners are the retail owners, the barbers, the hairdressers, the stationery stores, the mom and pop shop, they're just a little convenience store that you would have supported in your community, and now they're looking at another several weeks of being closed. And again, they're with no assistance. There was in the package, also in the COVID relief package, there was that addressed business owners that they could take out a loan. It was not a grant, that they had access to a loan, I believe, through the credit unions. But however, how does one take out a loan when you can barely pay your rent, when you can barely survive, when you are not even getting any assistance to keep you afloat? So now we are facing quite a dilemma where these organizations have no income and they are the average middle class person, average middle class owner, business owner that has no assistance from the government. So where do they
Anthony,
stand? I think he's frozen.
I was saying he's seeing to be frozen.
Yeah.
Exactly. I question that the members of Duma are asking about, and they're asking in terms of the support that they are in effect not getting. And I wanted to read a comment here, actually a piece that I screenshot from that article. Um, this is a PNM MP, actually, and a PNM MP down in Mayaro. Mr. Parry said urgent attention must be paid to small and micro enterprises, as these businesses take up a majority of employees at the retail level, and if businesses were not protected, there will be no jobs for them to return to in August or September when some form of normality returns. He said while the state was looking after employees and vulnerable people, there were small businesses with no money coming in, still having to pay utilities, rent, power, licenses, and fees. He said the state had not provided any funding or grant allowances for these kind of businesses to remain economically alive for the next few months and survive to be able to open in August. And that's so true. We're hearing a lot about grants, but you're hardly hearing, or you're not hearing anything about what can or is being done to support these small businesses. And in effect, they do employ a very huge percentage of our population, a huge percentage of our population who, like you, Misha, like me, like Anthony, have to eat, have families, have bills to pay, have mortgages, have to survive, have to eat food. And Mr. Parry was making these comments, and I applaud him for saying these things as an MP right now, as an MP for a political party that is in power right now. But he's making these comments with respect to Mayaro, and I applaud him for being honest about what is happening, because the Mayaro community has been hit with a double whammy. They
Yes.
are a fishing community slash agricultural community and an energy driven community. And as we're seeing right now, the energy sector has taken a very significant hit in terms of just their operations. We were supposed to have drilling taking place from four separate drilling expeditions were supposed to take place. A number of them have been cancelled. Drilling, this means that people who would have been working on the platforms providing food would have been actually working and doing the drilling expedition, etc. These people are no longer employed. Their fallback in the past would have been things like CPEP contracts, etc. These are, of course, at a standstill for many people. If you notice, CPAP is not out and working. So what many people are concerned about, particularly down in Mayaro, and I guess this is not I guess, but this is going to be mirrored across the country, is a double
Yeah.
whammy in terms of your primary business as well as your fallback business. And we're not hearing anything about how we are going to assist them. Many people are, of course, worried and panicking. Some people, and Anthony raised this in terms of freezing mortgages, etc. What a lot of people are going to experience after this stay home order is fully lifted after we reach phase 6 is facing mortgages that you cannot pay because you have not been working, and an accumulation of mortgages for the past couple of months. And I always wondered why, instead of asking people to pay the lump sum that they would not have been paid in the past, why can special allowances be made so that you can extend the period of your loan? So if your loan was supposed to end in a year and 3 months, and you have not been paying your loan for 3 months, you now extend your loan to a year and 6 months, just to give people that additional time to catch themselves, to get yourselves back on a footing. I mean, to expect people to just to snap your fingers and just return to making profit is not going to be overnight like that. And these small business owners, Anthony, you're part of this. These people who are again just trying to make an honest living, they're being left out, they're being left behind, and it is an issue that we're raising here on Pep Talks in the morning, because many of these people, like you, like me, have to eat, they have to live. And I can't overtalk. I feel like I'm over talking this, but I don't know again how to get it to resonate to the people who are in charge of making policy decisions. I don't know how to get the people who are being impacted by this to keep harping on these issues, because this is what we need to keep pressing the government on.
Well, let me tell you, Felicia, I have a little small Mickey Mouse group of companies. It's not no 1%er, so Trinidad, all you don't get tied up with that. It's part of that 99% 100. And that is the realness of it. And to show the realness of it, in the time just before, because we keep mentioning that Trinidad was not in a good economic place before the COVID-19. I had a business that I had no other choice than to close because I had issues where foreign exchange was concerned, being able to acquire, to get stock that I needed for my business to operate under. And again, it became a problem, a country that simply did not work for me, a small businessman, the same way it does not work for many other small and medium-sized businesses and business people. In the COVID-19 period now, yes, I had no other choice than to close another business because of the same issue of having to pay rent to a landlord that I am not open for business, and the man is asking for his rent, and there's nothing in the state or written in stone for this man or myself to actually operate under in this time. So when the Prime Minister say, all you have a heart, landlords, landlords are in business, because if they themselves have to pay a mortgage or what have you through their bank or financial institution, then what are we leaving again for the citizens? The citizens that end up holding always the shitty end of the stick, And again, we said it before, it is all dialogue. The country was supposed to take that hit via the banks where payments are concerned for whether mortgages, whether it be loan payments or whatever, whether it be car payments or whatever. The point is, it simply was supposed to be frozen. Bottom line, no citizen on the ground was supposed to be paying any type of bill or utility in this period of time, in this time of lockdown. And to have it in a controlled environment where you say, okay, we do that for 3 months. We literally lock the country down for 3 months. Nobody go to work for 3 months. We would ensure that every home have a hamper of sorts where you can feed your family. We do the census, getting numbers of everybody in each home. And again, let the banks who are making millions per quarter, that is every 3 months, they are walking away with 10, 15, 20, 200, half $1 billion making it profits. This is after paying everybody at Trinidad and Tobago. This is after paying everybody. So if there's anybody that could have given the government any kind of support, was the banking sector. Most definitely, because they were more than in a position to be able to withhold any payments that any of their clients had to pay in this time where the economy has been frozen. The state and the state-owned utilities to ensure that non-payment by clients also was an initiative in this time for the period that would have been indicated would have been the lockdown. The point is, it just simply could have been done better, and it was a no-brainer for all the policies and protocols to be in place to safeguard the population, to safeguard the business sector, to safeguard everybody, to safeguard Trinidad and Tobago as a whole, and coming out of this in a much better position. But no, we had to ensure that the population and the country as a whole had to have some level of chaos. Why? Why? Why is there a level of chaos that must be met by the people of Trinidad and Tobago? For what reason? And we are saying that our leaders have doctorates and masters and bachelors, and they are supposed to be so well educated and so forward thinking and so proactive that we are not even supposed to be in this position. But why are we in this position? So it leaves to ask the question, is it purposely done? Are they looking to create a chaotic environment where your security card companies could now really get the contract that they lost a few weeks ago, to now really do come and work alongside the police service, because we have a chaotic environment. We have people hungry, man jumping through your window to thief your fridge and to thief what's in your cupboards. The place just in a deficient environment. You have small businessmen, medium-sized businessmen and women that are the ones that's going to feel the brunt of what is happening here with this COVID-19 and the economy is concerned. And we have a lot of businesses that's going to crash and burn. And who are they now able, after putting whatever little that they could have put to invest, to create something for themselves and their family, to move themselves forward, to have some kind of hope and opportunity for their own, having to lose that forcefully because of the missteps of the state? Do you, Trinidad and Tobago, truly feel that that is fair? Do you think that is something that is any part and form of a redeveloping initiative for Trinbagonians, for the country on a national level? We said it before just now. Before companies, look, I think it's Unilever or one of them companies, and them going and lay off 300-400 people, right? Okay, fine. Yeah. Whether it was a mandate for the company to do before the COVID-19 situation, and at this point is something that they have to roll out. The point is, the state's supposed to be sitting with these guys and finding out for fact whether their company or the infrastructure that they hold right now is able to help with the redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago, the same dream team that they come and pull together, them 22 fellas, and talking about roadmap to recovery. That is an integral part towards that roadmap to recovery. We need to identify what are the assets of Trinidad and Tobago on a national level, in the public and private spaces, where industries and business, whether it even be small, medium, or large, we have to have, again, we keep saying it, proper census on the ground as to know what is the actual environment that we have here in Trinidad and Tobago across board. From the bottom, go all the way to the top. We are talking about redeveloping Trinidad and Tobago. And if we have an opportunity now to truly take a step towards redevelopment of Trinidad and Tobago, and to have what we have aspired for the last 57, 58 years of having independence, why are we still making the missteps? Why have we not brought the population together and having an open discussion, which we should supposed to be having every goddamn day? You have TTT as a public television station. You have other cable companies. Allow them to air your product as far, or proposal as far as having talks with the population, having people have their say as to how we are to move forward as a nation. What are the needs of the people in every different constituency that we have in Trinidad and Tobago? How are we going to create a new economy model that can allow our dollar to have some level of value in itself on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago for our citizens in conducting trade, product, and services? The way that we conduct business as a whole, and the way that we as a population spend that money that we would go out there to work for. All of these things are part of the development of Trinidad and Tobago, because you're not only talking about the development as in hardware, you're talking about development in software and in intellect, as in the minds of the people How are they to operate now in this new environment in Trinidad and Tobago? It is a new time. Oh my goodness, it's absolutely beautiful. And I keep saying that this is a silver lining in all of this chaos that we are dealing with right now, because Trinidad has a true opportunity in becoming a real independent country, being able to be self-sufficient, sustaining itself with longevity, bringing a level of betterment and hope and opportunity, because we are a nation now trying to develop itself as a first world nation. Even though we may not be competing on the international stage, the point of the matter is that we can do everything here internally as far as feeding our nation, 110% being able to create a large enough export package to send around the world, if not within our own region, in being able to contribute towards our GDP. One part as to one way in which we can actually diverse our economy, as well as developing our education, the way that we teach our teachers in the tools that they need to have, integrating the new technologies of the 21st century, new techniques, having to teach and show our students new ways and mechanisms in how to learn, having new tools in which they learn, embracing the technology that we have again here in the 21st century. We have healthcare, creating a situation and an environment where we ensure monies go in the places that they need to go, to have a system that works for every citizen on the ground, with a first world healthcare model that works, that people could get a heart attack now, 5 minutes our ambulance reach, 10 minutes you're reaching the hospital, 20 minutes later you have a doctor dealing with you right there on the spot, saving lives, doing betterment for the people at no cost to them, because we are proud and we are rich and we are great. And the point is that we have all the resources and skill sets that we need to right here in Trinidad and Tobago, instead of people having to run to the shores of America, England, and Canada. And all of our skill sets and brain drain is heading outside the shores. The environment now entails that what we have to develop here must be number one. And when we develop it and have it on the ground, we have to keep it here for that development to make Trinidad and Tobago number one. That's the mission of the day.
Exactly.
Redevelopment
Well
across the
said.
board.
Really well said,
said.
Anthony. And I just want to read some comments from the live. Mark Imessiani, I hope I pronounced your last name right. It's a very unique last name. First time I'm seeing it. Listen, guys, we know we need to fight this pandemic, right? But what makes it worse is this government has on our behalf asked that loans, rents, and whatever else be deferred until, but no assistance with monies to deal with this reality. And that's true. You're asking people to defer your loans, but you're not giving them, or you're asking them to stay home and you're not giving them any money to deal with the repercussions of staying home. Mark also said 99% of the population, and the 99% that Anthony speaks about, is the spine and backbone of the society. And I think after this government has realized, and I think after this, the government has realized it decides to open up the country forcibly. Also, this morning is Angela Garcia's birthday. I missed that one. So happy birthday to you, Angela. I hope you have a wonderful day today. Don't forget we are taking calls. In particular, sorry, I would like to hear how small business owners are being impacted by the stay-home order. If you are a salon owner or barber or nail tech, chances are you will not be resuming operations for the next couple weeks, and this is going to be impacting you hard. So I do welcome any calls this morning from you to let me know how you're dealing with this. If you would like to call in for any other reason, to talk to the panel, to talk your talk, please call in. We are very much interested in hearing from you. Michelle, I know Anthony had his time there. Anything you would like to add to that discussion?
No, I wanted to mention, let's not forget part of the COVID-19 relief package that the government had basically presented to the country for the small business person, was that the infamous refund of taxes of under 250,000 would have been immediately expedited to supposed business owners that the government owed under 250,000. In addition, they had given the option of credit union loans to the small business owner. But again, this shows, as Anthony was indicating, how disconnected they are from the average citizen and the average citizen of what the average citizen is going through. You would not want to take a loan in this time of uncertainty. And this infamous refund of taxes that we're hearing about, that I believe the total was in the past $70 million range, that they had given tax refunds to business owners, particularly owing under $250,000. So that was supposed to carry them through. And again, the disconnection shows that was part of the plan, but there was nothing else to really deal with the average mom and pop operation on the floor. And once again, as the person on the live indicated, small business owners are the core of any country. They are the everyday economic drive in any country, the mom and pop operation you go to in your constituency. But we don't have our MPs on the floor. We don't have our MPs on the ground. We don't have our MPs that are in tuned with the needs of the constituency. Right now in South, you mentioned previously, there is a quiet, temporary layoff of the oil and gas industry that is not being spoken about. I know several people, it mentioned it in the Mayaro, but I'm speaking from the South side. I know several young men that are about to be laid off because Heritage can only store up to 2 months of oil. And they have just done, again, another phasing out of temporarily. They've been told you are going to go home 3 to 4 weeks until this price picks back up. It's not being covered in the paper. So on top of this, as we said, the double whammy, you now have an entire sector being quietly laid off without the public knowing.
Yes, 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 exactly. Exactly, Michelle. And again, you can't talk that you are looking towards redevelopment of our country and just cutting the throats of so many citizens and so many arms of the whether it be private or public sector. The point is that we need to assess everything on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago before we make any harsh decisions moving ourselves forward, because we don't know what's the tools that we truly need. We already have manpower in place ready to drop on the ground straight out of the womb and get the process going. The point is a matter of truly assessing everything, 100% of Trinidad and Tobago, privately and publicly, having open talks as to the steps that we need to take forward. We need to create a level of local manufacturing here on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago to pacify many different areas and fields and industries that we need, whether it be within construction, whether it be within wherever, infrastructure, you name it. The point of the matter is that we simply need to itemize exactly what are the things needed in order to create a country from scratch, and now assess exactly what are the things that we have as assets on the ground, again, owned publicly and privately, and bring the players together and let's create a proper plan moving the country forward. Again, we had to go back to agriculture. Remember, the first two booms Trinidad and Tobago had was the sugar boom and the cocoa boom. That is before oil and gas and pitch and all of that, tralala. It was food. It was food. It was agriculture. And the point is that we can get back to there. Because if there's one thing we are sure planet Earth is in need of, where people are concerned, is food. So if there's one thing that we can redevelop and create as a proper export from Trinidad and Tobago in order to pacify and contribute towards our GDP in a huge way, is agriculture. Because agriculture in itself, aside from the direct agriculture of farming of food being grown and so on, you have many levels of downstream industries associated to it, which in turn will also contribute towards the GDP and further development of Trinidad and Tobago and empowering our people. Let us get them to work. Let's get Trinidad and Tobago to work. The Prime Minister have this thing in phases to relax all the conditions and restrictions we are dealing with. I still ask the question, why? because if the state can't put proper policies and protocols in place for businesses and the business sector to operate under, in which they have to now in turn have the population operate once coming into their institutions, then we are lost cause. We really ain't know what the hell it is we doing, and we just doing things by vaps. We following, and we can never show a level of true leadership and true systems in order to really help and pacify the population in a time of need. And this COVID-19 is a prime example of all the failed systems and the failed leaders that we have taken us into the 21st century here right now in our history. I am in fear for my children to know that we can usher in real change. I will be in fear for them. I telling you, and my children, and my children down. That's if we even be able to reach so far. Because the place gone
But
mad.
will you notice? Do you notice, Anthony and Felicia, the terminology diversification has not come up of all the conversations that we've been hearing. There is, it has, if everybody pays attention, we have this COVID recovery team, we have all the government leaders in effect, and the term diversification is still not coming up. We are still relying on oil and gas to take us through. We are not looking forward. We're not looking towards renewable energy. We are not looking. Notice the terminology that is being used has nothing to do with diversification of the economy.
I would say
noticed
this.
that.
Wait, let me just say this.
Yes.
All around the world, look, America, they wasn't gas, oil went down to like 20 something dollars a barrel, if not less. Yet everywhere
And
around the world was able to
that
experience. What's that?
negative negative $33
Negative.
and dropped to a
Negative, in a negative figure, correct. Everywhere around the world had experienced a much lower cost in price for their fuels, for their citizens. But yet in Trinidad and Tobago, where we have oil and gas coming out of the ground for free, we still had to pay we 5 something for we premium, and we 3 something and 4 something for we regular fuel and diesel and all them kind of thing. Why? How? Since when? What it is? We have nobody who is within the economy or who can be a proper economist to determine or give guidance to our finance minister. The man don't know what he's doing, you know, because he keep proving it time and time again. Because at the end of the day, for a country that have oil and gas coming out of the ground for free, why is the citizens of this country not benefiting at least from that? Why does we just simply don't pay
Miss
our refining costs? Why is there a profit line that is based on fuel? They talk about the fuel tax that we just have to pay that's supposed to be fixing the road. Look at the roads in Trinidad and Tobago. Is it worse? Is it worse in the entire Caribbean? You have countries getting pitch from we. And you go on their roads and it's the best roads you could find that last in 20, 30, 50 years. But we drop a road here this year, next year, sure. If Wasai mess it up, you're talking about the damn thing warp and it breaking apart and all kind of blasted thing taking place with it within a 12-month period. Why? Why is that? Why we insist on doing work that simply cannot last? The Americans dropped roads here nearly 100 years ago that's still standing up. Why? We are not able to do better for ourselves, boy. A country with its nationals that come from slavery, come from indentureship, come from oppression. And we blasted leaders, they are grandchildren in Africa and India too. And they themselves were supposed to bring and usher better for us, the people, the grandchildren of Africa and India. It's a simple thing.
all right.
And that is why we could
All
say
right.
failure.
I give you a minute to cool down. I realize you're ramping up a little bit. Mr. DeFore, apparently the government seems to think that the HDC housing and highways are more important than food. They are prepared to use agricultural lands for all kinds of projects, all kinds of building projects, which is true. Everything going up on agricultural land besides agriculture. And I got a comment here. Apparently, we have some shy callers today. A business owner texted me. She didn't call. She actually asked, "Hi, I was wondering how come NIPDEC have not yet distributed the making of fabric masks, as samples and application forms were submitted since the 24th of last month, together with samples from tailors and seamstresses, with the hope that they would have some kind of income, as we or some are depending on it to survive." Again, small business owners still waiting to hear from the government. Michelle raised that question of diversification, and it's one that I feel like I overtalk, but I feel like there is no such thing as overtalking diversification, particularly now, particularly in this time. We're talking, what was mentioned about diversification in that press conference on Saturday? Was anything mentioned? I don't watch those things. I read the
Absolutely,
highlights. Nothing.
absolutely
The Prime
zero.
Minister called and ask the people to give their ideas on diversification. Yes, Anthony, I see a big fancy. He asked for people to give solutions. Mr. Prime Minister, all you need to do is tune into an episode of Plain Talk at 8 p.m. in the night and Pep Talks in the morning from 8 a.m. in the morning to get an idea of how you can fix this country. We bring some of the brightest minds, even some of your ex-ministers. Oh, we have a call coming in. Hello, good morning. You're live on Pep Talks in the morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just I know NIPDEC was going to do the distribution of the making of face masks, right? However, it was an extended period before the 24th where people would have had to drop in their applications and their samples, right? However, since the 24th till this present date, they have not started any distribution in reference to giving out contracts to do any or so on. So I was wondering what is going to happen to the small dealers and finishers who may depend on that to survive during this period.
You were the person who just sent me the question on the deck.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I was now telling the panel that you were a shy caller, but thank you for calling in. I don't have any. I don't know if you want to listen to the answer off air or you want to stay on.
I will listen off here.
All right. Thank you much for calling in. I'm going to assume that this is one of the persons who has been impacted by this. I have no answers on that NIPDEC thing other than it is absolutely unacceptable. I mean, if you giving people the hope that they're going to have a chance to make some kind of small income during this time, because those are people that you're not hearing about much, the seamstresses and the tailors, etc., whose businesses obviously, like many other small businesses, would have been impacted by this. So to ask people to submit your samples in hopes of getting some kind of employment or opportunity at this time and not be able to do that is completely unacceptable. Pep, we spoke about masks on Saturday. On Monday, we had masks and we're selling. This is during the COVID-19 stay home order. We have sold well over close to 1,000 masks already. The government, you can't tell me that they don't have access to get these seamstresses and they're working on getting these masks out or sold to the public. And again, giving them some kind of level of employment at this time, particularly those who are waiting on the grants, the remaining 39,000 people who are waiting for $1,500 to hit their bank account. And that's a good question. When the other people who finally do get their grants released to them, I hope they're not going to get $1,500 and then have to wait next month for next $1,500. I am hoping, seeing as this is taking so long, that they're going to get this as some form of lump sum. I mean, is that too crazy of me to expect right now? Or
Felicia, I wanted to mention my friend also applied for that same, tendered for that same contract. And she was asking this weekend, had I heard? And I said no. But again, we need to realize as citizens, this is where the lack of transparency occurs with our governance. Because if the contract was issued, it should have been some type of public notice on that. But again, if you notice the timing of when that tender came out, there was also a parallel news release that a 1%, I think, wife or affiliate was sewing masks for the government or doing something. If you notice those two things that occurred parallel. So I remember we noticed it in PEP. There was a 1% that was supposedly, I don't know, issuing or doing. So people have to realize that when you question these things, we have to start asking the questions of transparency. And this is where lack of transparency. Again, we do everything correctly on paper in Trinidad, and I believe that tender was just a facade to engage the public and create an illusion of hope that some of the seamstresses would benefit, but we've seen nothing transpired since then.
I love that phrase that you use, Michelle. Illusion of hope. That is what this government and administration is very good at. They're putting forward an illusion of hope for the people, building their hope and their trust that something or there are going to be better days. Yet each day that passes, the same old that we're living. I mean, back on that topic of diversification, are we talking about the reason why I feel like we can never overtalk that is because we're literally witnessing things crumble around us. And I hate to use such strong language in terms of referring to our economy, but we can no longer sit and pretend that things are not crumbling around us. The oil and gas industry that this country has stood on for so long is literally crumbling around us. And the world has been preaching and moving forward to renewable energy for years, and we here have been stuck in the past. And I say the past because fossil fuels are literally a thing of the past. And yes, it has been able to keep us afloat, but what did we do with that money that we got from all of those oil booms and gas booms that we have? How did we take it and use it to really redevelop Trinidad and Tobago, really invest in a future that was forward looking and forward thinking? How did we do that? We obviously didn't. And we're now in a situation where, like I say, things are falling around in front of us, and we have, well, at least not we have, but we are facing a government. We're looking at a government that seems to have no plan, no action for how we're going to survive and come out from it. I mean, as much as I applaud this decision of reopening Caroni and bringing back sugar, it is an option for us. But this is how badly set up we are. We're talking about going back to things we used to do in the past. We are still not even talking fresh ideas, new advancement, new technology, re- expanding the manufacturing industry. Um, I believe Maynaro is a community. Even the MP of the area was saying that manufacturing could be something. Maybe he's a undercover pepper, I don't know, but bring your ideas to us because we want to take these things and not just talk about it and give false hope, illusion of hope like Michelle used, but we actually want to take these things and make them into tangible ideas and solutions for this country because those are the things that we desperately need. We don't need chicken right now. We don't need to prop up a multinational, international franchise. We need to be saving that money in very scarce foreign import, well, scarce foreign exchange right now. And we need to be redeveloping and reinvesting that into Trinidad and Tobago. We are facing an outlook where there's a lot of uncertainty. Auntie reminded me of that fall in oil prices in the United States. We are still floating around $25 for Brent crude oil, but even that has a very bleak outlook as the world is limping towards reopening following COVID-19, and still, yet we are not talking real solutions. We are not talking about actually putting things in place to recover, to move forward as a nation. And we here in the Progressive Empowerment Party will continue to harp on it until somebody steals that idea too, until somebody takes this country and where we're going seriously, and it doesn't seem to be happening. Anyway, 7694590, call in to talk your talk, have your say, ask your questions of the panel of what you heard in terms of the stay home order and the phased reopening of businesses. We were supposed to also touch on the topic And I did save that for last, of the Prime Minister's response to the media questions, finally. And I have to applaud the Progressive Empowerment Party as one of the bodies who kept pushing for the answers in relation to what were what was the vice president of Venezuela doing here. And I mean, we're finally getting some half-hearted answers a month later. And it is unbelievable to me that the Prime Minister takes us as fools to come out and say that he did not know who were some of the members of the Vice President's delegation team. Like, does he see, do we seem or do we appear that much illiterate or incompetent to this man? I have to believe that he takes us all for fools, to believe that neither his Minister of National Security, neither his Minister of Foreign Affairs had any idea as to who was touching down on the borders of Trinidad and Tobago. Like, come on. Come on. Come on.
Felicia, it shows the level of respect he has for us as citizens, because anyone with a one brain cell will know any world leader has to get clearance. There's security clearance that is required to visit any world leader. You just don't come off a plane and go into a prime minister's office. So for him to even give that explanation shows the level of respect he has for the citizens of this country. It shows the total disrespect of thinking anyone in this country has a brain cell that would believe that type of excuse. It was better he said nothing, rather than say he did not know who was visiting his office.
What I would add to that is we should propose freedom of information request and present it to the Prime Minister's office and let him have it in writing as to exactly what was the entire particular in that scenario and in that event, with that vice president coming here and her entourage and so on. Because again, the information that the Prime Minister is putting into the public space, into the public, is as usual vague, and he's not being held to task. He's not, the questions are always being deflected, and he's simply not coming straight with the people. So, in my mind, I would say that the next move that we should make, if we are having a stumbling block in getting information from the Prime Minister, is to request to have a freedom of information request and let him put it in writing and answer to the people for fact, something that could hold him to account in the court of law if necessary. Because that's the direction we have to take most of what we do now at this point, because the people who are calling themselves leaders of Trinidad and Tobago must be held accountable. And the game that we are usually accustomed having played with the lies and misdirections and the untruths and the whole facade. The point is that we need to ensure that we have factual information moving forward from this point on every step of the way. And if it means that we need to have a freedom of information request every single time, let it be so. Let them archive it. So this way, God bless we and Progressive Empowerment Party get into that parliament, boy. We have enough paper trail and evidence and documentation to who are to get arrested. I tell you, people people going to jail.
But Anthony, why is this government aligned with governments known across the world as being corrupted? Right now, I read this morning the same vice president is on suspected fraudulent money laundering charges in Spain. I read this morning. We completely, we go to Ghana, where we have not chosen a first world nation to be aligned with, the Denmarks, the Norways. I read this morning, Norway, their equivalent of their HSF is US $1 trillion. Right? And I was thinking to myself, I was thinking, why aren't we aligned with countries like this to guide us in the direction we should be going? But as instead, we're, our middle name, it should be Trinidad Corruption and Tobago, because we just continue with the alignment of the most corrupt, deceitful governance in the world.
Very true. Very, very true there,
Indeed.
Michelle.
And we have a lot of shy callers this morning because they're sending me their WhatsApp messages fast and furious. Anthony spoke about the poor state of the roads. Very true, but don't overlook the terrible state of our sidewalks in certain areas. San Juan, Kwesi, Diego Martin, manholes open, wheelchair access is a sad and ridiculous joke. And that is true. And I have a very, very big heart for the differently abled and disabled in Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, being a differently able person and seeing the way, the scant courtesy in which we treat people who are differently abled in Trinidad. And I say the way we treat them because while we may think that sidewalks are, other than being an eyesore and being dangerous and just being totally irresponsible, sorry, as in terms of taking care of your burgesses and your constituencies, also disrespectful to the people who need it, who need the sidewalks to access and get around their lives. Imagine a blind man trying to navigate a pavement with manholes in it, a pavement that is missing in certain areas. You're having to go down into the road in certain areas. Imagine a man in a wheelchair having to roll. I listen, nothing does break my heart more than watching people in wheelchairs having to roll at the side of the road with cars whizzing past them. Again, the failures of this country, they can be dissected on so many levels. And looking the person who just sent me that message and raised that issue, I mean, it wasn't on the topic of what we were discussing, but it needed mention because the differently abled are citizens of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago too, and our failures as a society to see about the overall needs of the constituency of the country is putting some people at an even greater disadvantage, more disadvantage than they already have to experience in life. I guess maybe I should stop reading these comments because people seem to want to be able to text me more than they want to call me. I want to hear your voices. I want you to call in and talk your talk. Hopefully tomorrow you all will be a little bit more brave in terms of calling. But back on the issue of the vice president and a political scientist, Dr. Bishnu Raghunathan, I'm very happy to see that he raised this issue. He's also the chairman on the board of ethical political behavior, and I applaud him for raising this particular issue with regards to the vice president's delegation because we need other people besides the Progressive Empowerment Party speaking out on these issues, speaking about the untruths being told by this government. Like I say, there's no way, no how anybody can just roll up to the Prime Minister's office. When we did I have a call coming in. When we did hello, good morning. Top Talk in the morning.
Hi, good morning, Felicia. This is Kwesi.
Hi, Kwesi. Good morning.
Good morning. I was just concerned about the comments that the Prime Minister made yesterday pertaining to his denial in the information. Honestly speaking, I really believe he thinks that there are a lot of literate people out here in this country. I believe that if we as people do not show, because we are not showing the nation that we are standing strong against the misconduct and mismanagement of this government. We are not showing, we are not coming out and showing. And even though, yes, I understand there's a pandemic and we need to keep at the social distancing and we need to uphold the rules, We have other ways we can protest in the open by abiding the rules.
I agree with you, most definitely. And thank you very much for that contribution. We need more citizens saying and standing up for issues like this. Anything else you'd like to contribute on the show this morning?
Honestly, you all are doing a very good job, especially Anthony before. I admire this man and how he speaks, right? Just like Alexander, and he needs to continue doing what he's doing. You and all needs to continue what you all are doing.
Thank you very much for that, Kwesi.
Okay, so you all have a pleasant day, and I pray to the Father above that the people in this country could open up their eyes and just stand up for their rights. That is all I am asking the people of this country to do. Stand up for their rights. We have human rights here. We need to stand up for it.
Indeed. Thank you very much
Well
for
said.
that.
Thanks a lot, man.
All right,
You know, just like we stood up for the amalgamated contract, and it showed the power of the people. The amalgamated contract hit social media. We did it in a very, lawful manner. There wasn't anything, and the caller is right. We can do it as citizens. Start being vocal on the issues that are unfair, because we did it with the amalgamated, and in less than 24 hours, they had to retract that contract based on the feedback of the people. So power to the people. We can do this if we, as the caller indicated, we just become more vocal on the unjust going on in this country.
Indeed.
Very true.
Adi, the teacher said we respectfully prefer the term shy commentators. No problem, Adi. If you want to be shy, I respect that. I do hope someday you will call in and talk to us too. I love hearing and interacting with the callers, particularly getting your feedback live on the program as we're doing it. Kwesi, thank you very much for that comment on the panel. Both Michelle and Anthony, two of my very strong soldiers here on Pep Talks in the morning, discussing the issues of the day together with me. We are nearing the end of the program. I'm going to give you each 2 minutes. Anthony, I know you need about 4, but I'm giving you 2 minutes to wrap up your contribution for the day. But I like to tease you.
All right. Well, again, thanks for having me on the show today. And Trinidad, I hope you are able to come away from some sense out of all of the nonsense that's presented to us. You have a call?
I want to take one last call, if you don't mind. This caller, you're very lucky. I squeezing it in. You're not shy anymore. Hello, good morning. You're live on Pep Talks.
Hi, good morning. I'm calling from Digger Martin. On this topic, I see it as a total disrespect to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago that our Prime Minister thinks that, he could just come out. I mean, we don't have a PhD and all this like he does, but sometimes common sense comes before book sense, and he is just, this is just. You cannot just come to us and tell us that you did not know, all this. And this goes back to everything, people applying for grants and all these things. Come on, are you all taking this as an opportunity to, to do all the folly that you all want to do and that type of thing? That's how I see it. I see it as an opportunity to be disrespectful to the people of Trinidad and Tobago and as an opportunity for corruption. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that contribution, caller. Again, we seem to have a lot of very
Take the calls.
people calling in on this show. No, we don't have. I don't think that was the last call, but I did want to squeeze that in to allow people to talk their talk. I do like to hear, like I said, and get feedback from the population, and it really warms my heart, and I know the heart of the panel to know that they're like-minded people who are thinking just as we are thinking and asking the questions that we are asking. And it gives me hope that we have a population that is not going to be fooled by talk and numbers and not going to be drawn into the illusion of hope like Michelle used. Michelle, I'm still going to be using that phrase from now on. Anthony, sorry, 2 minutes got cut down to 30 seconds. Give me a quick wrap up.
Well, like the caller just said just now, the environment is being created as a chaotic one, and again, I believe, and she's absolutely right. It's one to create corruption and underhanded business and all these overpriced contracts and all of that sort of madness that we've been accustomed to over the years. Again, it's just a matter for us to be aware of the environment that we're in. We can have much better than we presently have. Trinidad and Tobago is just a matter of really addressing it head on with proper protocols and policies that can work. We are not saying that we are the best of the best, but I think that what we've studied for the last 10 years, where our 21 policies are concerned, is what can bring real change to every citizen on the ground here in Trinidad and Tobago. If you're not familiar with them, check it out on the PEP page and get the information. You have choices, Trinidad and Tobago, and we can have better. All I can say is to save TNT, vote PEP.
I just got another call there. Y'all are really strange, you know. I sorry I could not take your call because we are really, really at the end of the program. But trust me, I would love to hear from you tomorrow. For the rest of the week, we are inviting small business owners, people who would have been and are being impacted by the extended stay-home order, who are not a part of the phase one rollout. Please, we're inviting you to call us. We're here every Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. and we always open the lines for you to talk your talk. I'm sorry I could not accommodate your call just now. I have to give Michelle her 10 seconds to wrap up. It got cut down. Michelle, talk it up with me.
Trinidad and Tobago, I just hope you realize through the Progressive and Empowerment Party, we all deserve better governance. And that is our mission, to educate, inform the population. And I do hope we have shared information with you that will make you an educated voter and vote for the better of this country, the Progressive Empowerment Party.
Well said, Michelle. And I'd like to thank you again both for joining me this morning. I really, really enjoyed the program this morning. Believe it or not, these shows, as much as they take time to prepare for and they take energy, I look forward to doing this every single morning. I love being able to have this discussion with my PEP members, with the callers who call in. I read the live comments as the show is going on. So if you see my head down, it's because I'm reading your comments on the show. It does guide some of the discussion at times. So if you're too shy to call in, I completely respect that. Send me a comment. I have no problem reading it out on the show. I want to end with this last comment from Mark Emisiani. Again, I still hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I see great light for the PEP. Staying transparent will take the party far. And it reminded me of my favorite phrase, and I read it out on the program about a week ago, and I'll read it again because I think is the absolute perfect way to describe what we're doing here in the Progressive Empowerment Party. And it's a phrase, a statement made by, don't laugh at me, but Professor Dumbledore from Harry Potter. And it goes, the happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. And that light, for me, I strongly believe, is the Progressive Empowerment Party. We are the light and the guiding beacon that Trinidad and Tobago has long needed and is finally here. Thank you very much for joining us on Pep Talks this morning. We will be back tomorrow with party organizer Shari Wilson and hopefully another surprise guest. We'll see who will join us on that panel this morning. I promise it will be just as riveting as this morning's show. We're still going through a period of staying home if you're not part of the essential services that are reopening today. So remember, let us stay together by staying apart. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.